For those of you who've been following along, you'll know that K-On started back in 2015, almost 10 years ago, as a little bit of a side hustle. And back then I was building up an old Prado 150 so we could take it touring. Now, as we roll into 2025, 10 years later, we thought it fitting that we start a new project.
Your first Toyota that you bought new?
Yeah, I've never bought a new Toyota. The other one was second hand.
There you go.
The other new car I ever bought was a Kia.
You haven't actually driven it yet, have you?
No.
Only.
My foot was bugging.
Oh, that's right. It's just Ben and I did the test drive.
Here we go. This is my first time in the driver's seat. So this is a little bit unorthodox. I've never actually driven this car and I've bought the thing already. I've got a lot of faith in Toyota. They make good cars. It's all good.
There you go. So nice.
Yeah. Normally when he's in the FJ, he's like right behind my ear. I don't know what's going to happen with the FJ. I was sort of considering moving it on.
What would you get instead of the FJ? Would you take this?
I'd probably build this up and take this around. There's no use having 2 or 3 vehicles. The shape's really good. Just have to get used to these lights.
It's here. So you're beeping. Why are you beeping?
Trying to get you to come out so we can film you.
Oh, really?
You're on the phone, eh?
Yeah, I was on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was on the phone.
Busy day today.
Hour.
Here we are. We've got the brand new, it's a Prado, isn't it? We've got a brand new Prado 250 in the workshop. Now we picked this up in the last few days of 2024 and it's going to be a big part of our 2025. Now this is a huge step for us. This is actually our first brand new vehicle that we've purchased for product development specifically. And the reason being is, in our experience, we find that when we have the vehicle here, we develop a much better product that solves the problem better, much quicker. Now we actually ordered a dusty bronze GXL, but we were told that it might be 2 or 3 months away, maybe March in 2025. So because of the number of inquiries we got for product for the 250, this one came up and we jumped on it. Just happens to be the same color as our old Prado 150. It's just interesting how they've evolved. It's 15 years, this model, 150 to the 250. Definitely looks very different. And it's also interesting how the cars keep getting bigger and bigger. Sort of following the heritage of the Prado being a super popular, super flexible vehicle, it's probably pretty hard act to follow, but I think they've done a pretty good job. There's always going to be things that people don't like and dislike, but all in all, it's a good platform. I'm still not sold on the lights. I wish they'd brought the round ones, but other than that, the rest of the car looks really good. Yes, my new Cybertruck, the one that doesn't explode. So even though we've moved to a new workshop, we still don't have enough space to store all our cars. So I affectionately called this my new Cybertruck. I said this cover was supposed to fit a Prado, but it looks very wedgy to me. As many of you may know, our current touring vehicle is an FJ. It's a 2015 FJ with the long-range tanks and the crawl and everything, the one you actually want. We moved to this from the Prado because I wanted something a little bit different, a bit more four-wheel drive focus. It's a really cool car and really built for four-wheel driving. It's even got the vinyl mats and stuff, so it's easy to clean. It's got the rear diff lock, a whole bunch of things going for it. So we love the FJ, made some awesome memories, done some awesome trips in this FJ. But to be perfectly honest, it's actually getting a lot harder to do those big family trips in this FJ. Not much space in the back for our kids that are growing up so fast. So when we started touring the Prado, they were probably about this big, 6 and 8 years old, but they're almost sort of fully grown adults now. Calvin, my son, is this high. And when we picked up the 250, and when he sat in the back there, his first comment was, "This is so comfortable, so much more room." And I can understand, because the passenger seats in the back of the FJ, pretty cramped for an adult. So we want to do some more trips as a family before they go out and do their own trips. So the trips we want to do are probably much sort of longer trips. And if we can make that more comfortable, it means that we can spend some more time together. I've got some proper toolkits. Yeah, put it on the... I think he's going to overtake me.
Oh, he's getting close.
His feet are the same.
That's how you do it. Your hips have to go the opposite way to your arm.
I'm not very good with my hips. So when we first got the car, it was a cool car because it had the suicide doors and it was all different and so forth. So this is what they have to deal with. And I've got my seat in a position that is as far forward as I can sort of go. I'm sort of pretty cramped up in there, see my knees. So I wouldn't want to go very much further forward. And you saw Calvin, he was almost as tall as me. And he's in the back like this. Sometimes he sticks his leg out like this. They don't even have a window that they can wind down. But when they were kids, they loved it. This is their little cockpit in here. We actually have to stack stuff in the passenger area because we don't have enough room for our stuff out the back. They want to get out, and if they forget, they'll open it up and they'll sort of throttle me with the seatbelt. It does this. Bit of fun.
I do love the FJ interior. I think it's a lot
It's very different. This thing here.
Is that your Macca's tray table?
Well, that's what we use it more for nowadays, is putting stuff on there.
I reckon you got a few cracks you need to do.
So that was my trip to Savannah Way. A couple of these were across the Simpson. I'll get it replaced. Yeah, it's only done 80,000 Ks, this one.
Tim's taking offers.
So this is the back setup in the FJ. I've got all my recovery gear and tools and stuff there, upright fridge, but the actual amount of space you have in here is like very limited, not very much at all. But to tell you the truth, we've got the camper trailer, which has most of our stuff in it, and the stuff we put in here is for day trips, so lunch and so forth. We picked up the Prado 250 for Kayon, and if I was to consciously sort of pick or choose a vehicle to transition to from the FJ, I actually probably don't know what I would have chosen. But now that the opportunity to build up this 250 as a family vehicle has come up, it gives us the opportunity to sort of go along for the ride as you go build your vehicle as well. So despite the difference between the 150 and the 250, the attraction of the Prado platform still remains. They're literally the Swiss Army knife of four-wheel drives, being great as a sort of family vehicle around town, but also being able to be modified to take you to those destinations, those bucket list destinations. The plan for this vehicle at this stage is...
Yep.
I thought you were going to fill in. So what is the plan for this 250? Now, it's pretty much a blank slate. We don't make any accessories for it, and nothing really transfers that easily over for the Prado 250. Now, we're also building it up for a different purpose. It will be a family towing vehicle, and in that sense, there's different things we want out of this vehicle. So we want to make sure we have a reliable, comfortable vehicle, and we want to also have a bit of peace of mind, as well as ticking all those boxes for those touring essentials. So based on the learnings from previous setups of vehicles that we've been touring in, some of the things I really like and want to consider on this vehicle are underbody protection. Looking at a lift and tyres as well, that always really helps. UHF definitely, and that leads on to 12-volt setup, dual battery. I want to have a fridge in the back, having somewhere to store things. Roof rack is always really good too. Water storage is always good too. We've had water on the Prado, not so much on the FJ, so I'd like to explore how we might store some water. Onboard air, getting the right tyre pressures is always a key. Trans cooler as well, being that we're towing, you're going to get stuck. So good recovery points. Those are the main things. I'm sure we're going to probably come across other opportunities or issues that we want to have a look at. We'll see what we get to when we tear it apart. So we have a bit of a wish list for this vehicle, and those lists can get quite long. What we can and can't put on the vehicle depends on a few things. It could depend on your budget, it could depend on what you're actually using the vehicle for, and nowadays GVM is actually a consideration. With the Prado 250s, You have more or less around 600 kg of payload depending on your vehicle. And if you're going to be towing a 3.5 ton trailer with the maximum bore load, that's only going to give you a couple of hundred kilos of payload left over. So you have to be really careful about what you put on this vehicle. Now we are towing a very lightweight trailer, still adds to that GVM. So we need to be a bit particular as well. So for that reason, for my build, for this build, we're not going to put a bull bar on. Even though I've done it for the previous 2 builds, bull bar and winch, I feel that I won't need a winch for this vehicle for the type of trips we're doing. And the bull bars, in the sense what they're made for, I've never had an issue with hitting wildlife or anything like that. And that can be mitigated by the times of day you drive and so forth. So for this vehicle, I'll find a way to put lights on because pretty much the bull bars in the other vehicles have just been used to hold the lights. There's a few differences in the body that are going to make it quite different to the 150. One being the back, we've got a tailgate now, and even around the bonnet here is slightly different. So some of the things we've done in the past for the Prado are going to have to be a bit of a different take. The chassis, very similar to a 300 series. So some of the things we've done for the 300 already might be transferable, but we'll lift it up and have a look and see what we can do there as well. There's heaps of tech in this vehicle. That's the first thing I noticed. The electronics and the Apple CarPlay and all the little gadgets and so forth, really nice. Night and day compared to the Prado. I think the screen on the Prado is like this big. It's like one little corner of the screen on this thing. So from that point of view, it's really nice. Drives really well. I've only driven it for 20k, so can't really say too much. I know that it's going to be a robust and reliable vehicle. Looks wise, from the back, from there backwards, pretty good. Not a huge fan of the front, but that doesn't matter because when you're behind the wheel, you're not going to see it. Convincing, isn't it? It's not bad. I just saw it looked like an A4 sheet of paper, so I just clipped one. But we could do that as a joke. Download your round headlights.
I mean, on.
Super convincing. I haven't talked about one of the biggest potential issues with the vehicle, which is the way they've done the 7 seats in the back. So I need to understand what's going on there too. So we're going to take it all apart, have a look at what we're working with. Now here's the biggest issue with the 7 seat. Now, on initial thoughts, you sort of think that someone left a bit of cargo in there and you want to rip it out. But that's actually the 2 seats in the back, and this is the box here. I must be honest, feels very flimsy. Feels like a bit of an afterthought, but with all the considerations that all the engineers at Toyota had and all the people that had put their 2 cents in, there must be a story why we ended up with this. So, just something we have to work with. Now this box here can be removed. Doesn't make it any prettier or any more useful, but they're the 2 seats there, and obviously there's a battery underneath there as well. So not a very flat floor or not a very sort of useful space for the moment, but it really depends on what you're using it for. As a shopping trolley and something you drive around town, probably just good enough. But from a touring point of view, that extra space is always handy. So there's only 2 model variants that have the seats removed, which is the GX and the Altitude. So for all those people with the 7-seat option, I wonder how many people are actually going to want to remove those seats permanently, or whether that's actually going to be a very useful addition to their sort of everyday use. Now in the back here, definitely being able to do some of our usual storage products, but we'll have a think about what else we can do to solve some of these problems or create a bit more utilisation in the back here. I suppose let's get cracking and rip this out. Tools.
Cue the music.
Yeah, montage, wasn't it? The box is the easiest part. Feels like it's... Let's bolts for the seat. Ta-da! That's what we've got. Okay, first look. We've got a battery there, lithium-ion battery, 7.6 kilos. That looks like a little bit of ventilation, so obviously the thing gets hot, so whoever's modifying this needs to take that into consideration. This is the 48 volt controller. In terms of height-wise, that sits low, but that sits pretty high. And then the ventilation system there too. Be interesting to see what people do there, because that bit there looks like it goes up the side and out the front there. There's this grill on the front here, which is not here on the other side. 207 watt hours. It's not even a kilowatt hour. It's freaking puny. So your typical electric vehicle's got like a 60 kilowatt hour battery, and this is 0.2 of a kilowatt, so it's nothing. Little drain point there as well. I think that's probably for outgassing if something were to happen. That goes to the floor there. There looks to be plenty of mounting points in the chassis here for everything. There's fans on everything actually. Even the control's got a little fan on it. A little fan here as well. Even this wiring sits up pretty high. It's a pity they couldn't have put the battery up inside in here. In the side here or something, that would have been cool. So solution so far, people have done false floors, replaced it all. Obviously they've done something with the fan there, reroute the fan.
I don't even know if they've rerouted it so much as they've just gone from that height.
No, I doubt it. You reckon they've gone from that height?
I reckon they have.
Let's put a straight edge on it. I think you're right, because a lot of them are about this far off the floor. But if you could get there, that's almost flush. It depends on how comfortable you are, how hot this thing bloody gets as well. We'll take this side off and see what it looks like.
This is why small mollies exist.
Yeah, and it's pretty common nowadays because the side curtain airbags, you can see that it's sitting over the top of the curtain airbag, so they have to sort of attach it to the frame somehow, and they've got, which would be fine for like grab handles, but if we're going to hang constant load, bouncing loads off it, I'd probably want something to help support that. You can see how without too much effort I can actually flex that. So I might be putting maybe 5 kilos, maybe a bit more on there, and it's moving already. It's good because we've got a support right there on both sides, so we can do something to help support any sort of shelving that we put up there. Scan it and put everything back and scan it, and so we'll see what cavities we have to play with in the back there. It looks like there's a bunch of mounting points in here, so I wonder if I take that side off too to see if there's any opportunity over there, but I doubt there's going to be as much space over there as this side. It wasn't too hard to take apart, so I'll take it apart. This is the whole battery ventilator thing. So that's rear aircon. This is the ventilator for the battery.
How's it feel to bask in the presence of musical genius?
Looks like there's no room over here for doing anything. Looks like there's a big grommet here to potentially run cables through out to the back or into the cabin. It's on the right hand side, there's nothing on the left. So that's probably my choice if we were going to run any cabling to the back through the chassis and up, or if we're not going to go through the cabin. Not a lot of potential. Left hand side, maybe. I might go grab an air compressor actually, maybe a single, and see if it fits in the back there. Capture this whole floor with everything removed. The scan will be good because then we can sort of see what levels we're working with, how much higher this battery is, how much higher this sort of air vent thing is, which is not picking up very well. But I should be able to get that by going on some different angles. Probably need the scan spray for some of that black shiny stuff. Just filling in the gaps really. A little bit of context up here. Green is good.
Where's that straight edge that you have?
See, ground and 48 volts, so you don't want to put your tongue on those two.
I was just thinking that.
I also had the roof liner off as well and the photos.
What do you reckon about them? Do you reckon they need bracing?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do it.
Remember how it goes.
I guess that's sort of my dilemma. Emma's input was, and I think she's onto something where, like, I'll turn on perspective view.
Oh, what it looks like when you...
Yeah, so from the actual point
yeah,
of
you'll
view,
see that. I think this one looks better when you look at it from the front looking back as well. Yeah, it doesn't look as refined. Sort of sits out in a bit. I sort of do like a tucked in though.
I like the tucked in one, especially because the car is so square. I find a big, like if I section him that way, he's not parallel to the bolt surface.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are we decided about supports for the shelf?
But with the way the seats recline, because they move so much up and down.
Yeah, they go up and down a fair bit as well. It does this.
I've seen it, yeah.
And then we get a fold along there, so you could put the holes in here. Something like that. I still think my preference would be to bolt if we can bolt. It's just more guaranteed, more secure.
Yeah.
Probably would have been easier to take the whole bumper off.
Prototypes have finished cutting.